Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I have the pleasure of introducing Cheryl Boone, who is a toxicity and detox specialist. And we had a connection in the past, and I'm excited the fact that we're going to be reconnecting again, and it's a unique opportunity. And so, please tell us, Cheryl, before we start all this, because there's so many things I want to know about. How did you get started about doing this, and why do you do or how do you do what you do?
Well, um, it all started back after I had my third child, as I got, was hit with rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, had no clue what was happening. Within months, I could hardly walk up and down the stairs, and here I had three children, one only a couple months old, and had to rely on my kids to carry a baby, which was pretty scary.
Yeah.
But um, back then, the doctors did not talk about nutrition or foods. I had to figure that out, and it was back in the 80s where they were injecting steroids and antibiotics into the cattle, and they couldn't say if it was, when you heated it up, if it was gone. So I gave up beef at that time. But through the years, it was learning, discovering, what helped my body. And 30 years later, I was I was I was wanting to be a health coach, but not necessarily just for autoimmune, really just for people to get healthy because of what I had gone through, and discovered that women were still having these autoimmune issues and talking about drugs that I'd never even heard of. And I really don't like drugs. I mean, there's a point in time when you have to take them, but I I was like, people need education on this. So I, got into all kinds of different testing, and then I got into toxicity and detoxing and learning about all these different foods that affect and what to eat and not to eat. And it really was a shock. And I do want to say, I have been healthy for a while until last year. Last year, I was actually hit with facial shingles, which I'm still have scarring and problems with. But I learned that it's not just about nutrition. You've got trauma, which can be physical, or even your toxins, but you've got emotional stress and you've got your nutrition. And so putting them all together, what we call is filling your bucket. And you can have lots of stress and a little bit of nutrition, or your nutrition can be off, and that little bit of stress tips it over, and you start having major health problems. So, in learning about which you had talked about with the seed oils, eating the right things, people don't know that it takes 150 days to get rid of half of your seed oil that you've taken in from those French fries, just, the pack of French fries. And can you imagine people that eat fast food all the time, that their body's never going to get rid of that, of those seed oils. And when we talk about seed oils, we're talking about the vegetable oil and the canola oil and the sunflower oil. The better oils are the coconut oils and the olive oil and the avocado oil. And I do want to stress that even though those are good oils, the coconut, the olive, and the avocado, um, you don't want to overdo it. Some people are overdoing it. So in learning about toxins and filling our bucket, I'll just um, I want to say that um, in order to detox, Well, first of all, people know that they want to eat the fresh foods, on the outside of the supermarket, and eat less and hopefully not eat the pre-packaged foods. Um, but in trying to get these toxins out, if you're having health problems, you've got toxins. Yeah, you can, people say, can I drink a lot of water? Can I flush those out? Well, first of all, we need to know that ourselves, that our liver and our kidneys and our lymph system, our detox pathways are working. You want to, your skin is a way of toxins coming out, and your breath, your breathing. So, and going to the bathroom.
Right, right.
But
So yeah, let me just ask you a question. So what toxins do we have to be aware of? I think people are now being aware of like, so where do they come from and what are they? I mean, before we talk about how to get rid of them, just let us
true.
know like, what is it that we want to be aware of? And yes, you're right. We can't just drink water and get rid of them, but tell us a little bit about what toxins we're talking about and where they're coming from.
Okay. Good question. Because since I know, my brain's got all this stuff in it, sometimes I forget that I need to explain things a little better. So I did talk about trauma, physical trauma, and then there's, you've got your um, environmental toxins that are um, your air, your water, your food, your pesticides, heavy metals, stuff like that. And you've got your stress. So I always stress with water, you should filter. Whenever I travel, I carry a handheld um, structured water funnel that the water goes through. Um, in your air, your environment, you may not know that, sometimes the outside air is cleaner than the inside air, and you could have a leak under the sink that you don't know about. A lot of people get the leaks um, from their refrigerator ice maker that, goes on for months. There could be mold there, and that mold can be in the wall, and that can affect your health. With mercury, anybody that has the amalgam fillings should get them out, because when you chew, that mercury vaporizes and goes into the brain, and that's not, it passes the blood-brain barrier, and it doesn't come out easily. And that's what happens with the glyphosate and other heavy metals. So in your food, also in your foods, if you look at, I always say, don't even look at what the protein is and stuff like that. Look at the ingredients. If there's 20 ingredients in there, there's chemicals in there. And I call them man-made chemicals. You want to be eating the garden fresh foods, not the chemicals that are made in the lab. And I could go into all the stuff that happens in the um, pre-boxed foods, as far as marketing ploys, making you believe that it's really healthy. If you just read the outside of the box, you're not being educated correctly. You need to read what the actual ingredients in there, and you'll find that a lot of the stuff doesn't serve your body. And the thing is our bodies are made to eat natural things. So when we put stuff in that is man-made, it doesn't know how to break it down. So the chem this is how the chemical toxins are stored in our body, because it's like, well, let me break down the stuff that I need to break down to live, to function, and then I'll deal with that other stuff later. And so those toxins can be trapped if you got some shoulder problems, it could be the chemical toxins can be trapped there. I cringe when people have operations because it may just be a chemical toxins that have accumulated into that area that is where you're having problems. But um, your body can get rid of some things. Like I said, the oils take 150 days to get rid of half of that oil, and then, longer to get rid of the rest of it. And if you keep eating those bad oils, it just is just a process. So our main body, when we have those pathways open, we can use systems. I mean, you just don't drink stuff. Anybody that wants to do detoxes should have a coach, because you don't want to just buy stuff off the shelf um, thinking that it's going to work. And like what you had said earlier, you can really mess yourself up by recirculating the toxins. The toxins are go into our bile out of the liver, if I'm saying that correctly, and it it can if the toxins don't come out, they get recirculated back into the liver. So
Right.
we want to make sure that you're using products that are beneficial to your body and not having that recirculation. So once you've gotten your body, toxins working, which is sometimes a process that could take months,
Mhm.
then you can kind of start working on the brain and going into the brain, past the brain blood-brain barrier. It's like a tongue twister to me.
Right.
Um, and starting to get those the heavy metals, the mercury, and the reason for lessening the toxins coming in your body in the first place and trying to get to that point of getting the toxins out of our brain is because it's known that this is what causes dementia and Alzheimer's.
Right.
So,
I have a
um,
question. I have a question for you. So
sure,
it's what, people who are overweight, they tend to store their toxins in their fat cells. And so it's almost like a protective effect. So when they start to lose weight, they can release the toxins into their body, and they may be feeling sicker before they get better.
right?
That's one thing. And the other thing you talked about was, how do we get our body ready? Because obviously, it's important, as you mentioned, that we don't want to just start doing a detox. We have to prepare the pathways so that, make sure that we're pooping well, make sure that our liver's working well, make sure that our bile pathways are open, and make sure our lymphatics are working. So how do we do that? I mean, how do we make sure, like, we do like almost like a pre-preparatory phase? And I know that that's in with your program, that you tell people how to go through and how to properly detox and get rid of these toxins. So tell me more about that.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is learning um, which foods to eat. And everybody's in their it is on a different journey, or different stages of their journey. There may be people that don't know about the clean 15 and the dirty dozen. Um, and there may be people that say, "Oh, I've been taking products forever and I'm fit, but I still feel sick." So it's like you said, looking at the root cause. Um, I actually have it's, I would say, an intensive questionnaire, but the questions are not like you would find anywhere. It's more or less your history, like going over your history of where you've lived and worked. And, there's a bunch of questions that will show where you might have gotten heavy metals, maybe where the air quality has not been good, where mold, was there mold in the house and lead in the house, a lot of different questions that get you thinking on it's not just now, like in the say, like, yeah, people can get sick, not eat right for 10 years and get sick, but also you carry stuff from the past.
Mhm.
You carry stuff when you're born, and it's looking at all these things that play a part in the health that you are now. And so, to kind of answer your question is looking at the root cause, um, looking at the past, and making a plan to where that person is on their journey as far as food plan. I noticed I started eating vegetables that I normally didn't eat. It's like they taste better when you cut out all that pre-made box food. So, a lot of it is, eye-opening. And it's, not doing everything at once. Not everybody's ready to do a body detox, a full body detox, with supplements, and coaching.
Mhm.
So, a lot of people start at the beginning and
So I have a quick
weight
question.
loss.
Yeah, I have a question. Just I don't want to interrupt, but like,
Yeah.
do we have to do what kind of do we have to do any specific testing um, for to find out like what our blood levels of like lead and mercury are to know which toxins to detox from? And also, or is it just a general body? And the other thing is, you know, should we be doing something every day to kind of help to cleanse our body? So those are two questions that I had for you.
Very good question. So the first question is say maybe doing blood tests to see if there's heavy metals and mercury. There are not any good tests for that. The best tests are like what I said with the questionnaire. That has been the most. Like if you have mercury in your fillings, you've got mercury in your brain. I mean, you know, that's a done deal. And how do we get rid of that? We first need to get rid of the mercury in our mouth, which takes time. It's not cheap. And it has to, they can't do it all at once depending on how many they have. But a biological or holistic dentist is the one that people want to see. And after that, this might be going into too much detail, but there is a scan that a lot of them can do, and you have to have a special software for that. But the biological or holistic dentist can scan your jaw for inflammation and um, anything that is not normal. And personally, excuse me, um, I learned that back in the 70s, when they were taking out they didn't have the expanders back then like they do now. And so if your mouth was crowded, they took out the molars. And if they took out the molars and didn't, do what they were supposed to do, and you got some infection in there, you can carry that for years until all of a sudden your stress bucket is um, going over and you don't know why. And that's one of the things that the infections can start up, and the infections like go through your body. Um,
So tell me more about your program and what those in other words certainly what people can do to I mean how do they get in touch with you and a little bit about your program and how you help people.
yes. Well, I'm definitely on Facebook and LinkedIn as my name or as Cheryl A. Boone. The program is starting off, learning the good foods to eat, what not to eat, and then going into the supplements of detoxing. It is a 5 month at least program, depending on how people do through the body phase, which is like 3 months, and the brain phase, depending on, how people are feeling. Um, that could be several months to a year. Some people have done 2 years. I mean, depending on the health and how they are. Yes, it's supplements, but you're being watched, weekly, every couple at the beginning weekly, and then every couple weeks. Definitely a program. There's like a membership site where you can watch all the videos to keep you up on each thing as you move through the phases. And from this summit, you definitely can have a 30-minute discovery call with me. I would answer questions to what people might have. And I do give some cheat sheets out there on what foods to buy, but also what chemicals to look for in, and we didn't all talk about this. We know about the chemicals in our foods, but what about our chemicals in our detergents, our household cleaning supplies and, pesticides and makeup type of things. So I do have some cheat sheets on that as far as what chemicals you don't want to be putting on your skin. Our skin is the biggest organ.
Yes.
And, little changes can help, but there's people that are very sick out there and they don't know why, and they've tried everything. And I really um, am excited about this program as far as detoxing and not recirculating the toxins, learning how to detox properly
And
and get the
do you have a VIP gift?
Um, well, the VIP is the several things, the some PDFs that they can download
Mhm.
and the 30-minute discovery call,
Okay.
which usually lasts a little bit longer, but
Okay.
I want to help people. I know the pain. I've been through the pain and even learned a lot more through getting shingles. So
Well,
um, you know,
you've been
it's
through a lot. I mean, and I certainly I think anybody would be really to get on a call with you to really understand, what toxins they have in their body and what's the best way to get rid of them, I think is really important. Do you have any last things you want to say to everybody before we conclude our interview, which has been wonderful, and I appreciate your time, and it's been good to reconnect with you. So what do you want to tell everybody before they kind of a lasting thing?
Yeah, this has been great. I love a gentleman, a Dr. William Lee. I believe he's out of Washington, D.C. His quote is eat to live, don't live to eat.
Hmm.
And I tell people, don't go to the smorgasbords, you want to you want to eat to keep your body alive. You don't want to overindulge in food just because it's available. If we had a sports car, we certainly would be putting in the fluids and changing the tire pressure and changing the tires and doing whatever it needed to keep that sports car looking good and running good. But
Absolutely.
unfortunately, with our bodies, people are just killing it. So I to keep it short, I wanted to be the grandmother that got on the floor with my grandchildren, not the one that sat in the chair waiting for my grandchildren to come.
Mhm.
So I have seven grandchildren
Wow.
from 1 to 12, and I'm on the floor if I need to be on the floor playing with them
Mhm.
or running around with them or whatever. I want to be active. I want to stay young. And this is the way to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, and look forward to connecting with you again. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much.